Alright. Now that we are done with the first two paragraphs of the first chapter, which is astutely named Chapter 1, I know Lemony Snicket is an excellent writer and an excellent romantic, but he liked to keep it simple. So what we're gonna do next is that you are going to listen to the rest of the first chapter, which is not that long, by the way. The first book is not that long, and then you are going to write down in your notes what happens, like in the first chapter, and you have to pay close attention, very close attention, because I want you to have certain things in your note. I want you to write down the important bits. And to help you with that, I'm going to provide you some questions about Chapter 1, The Bad Beginning. Now, okay, you have to write it down now. On the question section of your notes. Now, here's some important questions. Question 1. This tale opens with a disclaimer. What kind of a disclaimer is it? What kind of a story are you about to listen to? Is it a sweet and pleasant story with happy endings, or is it the opposite? Yeah, you can word the question however you like. It's your note. What I care about is not the question itself. I care about the answers to the questions, okay? Okay. Follow-up question to the first one. What kind of events happened to Violet, Claus, and Sunny? Or just write down to the Baudelaire children. Third question. When did it all start? Fourth question. Where did it all start? Fifth one. How old are Violet, Claus, and Sunny? Sixth question. I'm sorry, I lost track of time there. Sixth question. Who is Mr. Poe? And what does he do? As in, what is his job? You know. Did Mr. Poe brought no, I'm sorry. Did Mr. Poe bring good news or bad news? Okay? Have you written down all of it? Excellent. Now we're going with the rest of the chapter. So prepare yourself and be mindful of the questions I provided you with. If possible, I want you to have extra details. And I don't want to have simple answer. Like the Baudelaire children are 12 or whatever. No, I want you to give a little bit of extra information. Because realistically, when your note is more detailed and cohesive, you'll have easier time to learn and read your notes. Yeah. Of course. Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. Any other questions? Right, okay. Here we go. The third paragraph. And I'm going to read until the end of the chapter, okay? Violet Baudelaire, the eldest, liked to skip rocks. Like most 14-year-olds, she was right-handed, so the rocks skipped farther across the murky water when Violet used her right hand than when she used her left. As she skipped rocks, She was looking out at the horizon and thinking about an invention she wanted to build. Anyone who knew Violet well could tell she was thinking hard, because her long hair was tied up in a ribbon to keep it out of her eyes. Violet had a real knack for inventing and building strange devices, so her brain was often filled with images of pulleys, levers, and gears, and she never wanted to be distracted by something as trivial as her hair. This morning she was thinking about how to construct a device that could retrieve a rock after he had skipped it into the ocean. Claus Baudelaire, the middle child and the only boy, liked to examine creatures in tight pools. Claus was a little older than 12 and wore glasses, which made him look intelligent. He was intelligent. The Baudelaire parents had an enormous library in their mansion, a room filled with thousands of books on nearly every subject. Being only 12, Claus, of course, had not read all of the books in the Baudelaire library, but he had read a great many of them and had retained a lot of the information from his readings. He knew how to tell an alligator from a crocodile. He knew who killed Julius Caesar, and he knew much about the tiny, slimy animals found at Briny Beach, which he was examining now. Sunny Baudelaire, the youngest, liked to bite things. She was an infant and very small for her age, scarcely larger than a boot. What she lacked in size, however, she made up for with the size and sharpness of her 4 teeth. Sunny was at an age where one mostly speaks in a series of unintelligible shrieks, except when she used the few actual words in her vocabulary, like bottle, mommy, and bite. Most people had trouble understanding what it was that Sunny was saying. For instance, this morning she was saying cat over and over, which probably meant look at that mysterious figure emerging from the fog. Sure enough, in the distance along the misty shore of Briny Beach, there could be seen a tall figure striding toward the Baudelaire children. Sunny had already been staring and shrieking at the figure for some time when Claus looked up from the spiny crab he was examining and saw it too. He reached over and touched Violet's arm, bringing her out of her inventing thoughts. "Look at that," Claus said, and pointed towards the figure. It was drawing closer, and the children could see a few details. It was about the size of an adult, except its head was tall and rather square. "Who do you think it is?" Violet asked. "I don't know," Claus said, squinting at it, "but it seems to be moving right towards us." "We're alone on the beach," Violet said a little nervously. "There's nobody else it could be moving toward." She felt the slender, smooth stone in her left hand, which she had been about to try to skip as far as she could. She had a sudden thought to throw it at the figure, because it seemed so frightening. "It only seems scary," Claus said, as if reading his sister's thoughts, because of all the mist. This was true. As the figure reached them, the children saw with relief that it was not anybody frightening at all, but somebody they knew. Mr. Poe. Mr. Poe was a friend of Mr. and Mrs. Baudelaire's, whom the children had met many times at dinner parties. One of the things Violet, Claus, and Sunny really liked about their parents was that they didn't send their children away when they had company over, but allowed them to join the adults at the dinner table and participate in the conversation as long as they helped clear the table. The children remembered Mr. Poe because he had always had a cold and was constantly excusing himself from the table to have a fit of coughing in the next room. Mr. Poe took off his top hat, which had made his head look large and square in the fog, and stood for a moment coughing loudly into a white handkerchief. Violet and Claus moved forward to shake his hand and say, "How do you do?" "How do you do?" said Violet. "How do you do?" said Claus. "Order yo," said Sunny. "Fine, thank you," said Mr. Poe, but he looked very sad. For a few seconds, nobody said anything, and the children wondered what Mr. Poe was doing there at Briny Beach when he should have been at the bank in the city where he worked.